Welcome to Content Marketing Engineered, your source for building trust and generating demand with technical content. Here is your host, Wendy Covey.
Hi, and welcome to Content Marketing Engineered. I'm your host, Wendy Covey. On each episode, I'll break down an industry trend, best practice, or challenge in marketing to technical audiences. Along the way, you'll meet friends and colleagues of mine who will share their stories. And my hope is that with each episode, you'll be inspired and ready to take action. Before we get started, I'd like to give a brief shout out to our sponsor, TREW Marketing. TREW is a full-service content marketing agency located in beautiful Austin, Texas. For more information, visit trewmarketing.com. Have you heard the news? Google has a 2021 algorithm change on the horizon, and it all has to do with the user's experience, and things like site load time and site structure will be more important than ever for your website. So, do you know if your website will make the grade? There's going to be winners and losers in this new change. So, in this episode, I talked to Geoff Atkinson, who's the CEO of Huckabuy, and we talk about these changes in more detail and how to assess and fix your site to perform better technically with search engine optimization. Let's do this. Well, today I'm joined by founder and CEO of Huckabuy, Geoff Atkinson. Prior to this position, Geoff was the Senior Vice President of Marketing at Overstock.com, which all of us know, and he was instrumental in growing their business through SEO in the late 2000s. So in short, he's an SEO rockstar expert, and I can't wait to talk to you, Geoff. So welcome to Content Marketing Engineered.
Thanks, Wendy. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. Well, before we get started, I'd like to hear a little bit more about your journey into digital marketing.
Absolutely. You know, it's kind of a weird journey. I was actually a ski racer in college back east. Yeah, I spent a year on the U.S. ski team and I skied in college, and I was moving to New Zealand of all places. My mom, who had just spent all this money on, my college education, was like, you have to take one job interview before you leave. And she worked with career services to sort of pick the perfect interview. And that ended up being Overstock.com. So I was a sociology major. I didn't really know anything about digital marketing. I started on the ground floor, about as low as you could possibly get at Overstock. But I ended up having a bit of a mind for it. So here I am, 15 years later in Utah, of all places to end up.
There's some pretty good slopes in Utah, I have to say. So
yeah, that was part of the decision, that's for sure.
I bet. Well, that's really interesting. And I took a peek at your LinkedIn profile and saw you really did hold quite a few different positions at Overstock on your way up the ladder, so to speak. Mm-hmm. What led you to leave and start your own business?
Yeah, it was something I always wanted to do. It's always a sort of tricky jump, and it takes, I talked to a lot of people that are interested in making that jump, but it's a hard one, to go from a high paying salary and very comfortable position to, you're putting together IKEA furniture. It's not, nearly as glamorous as it sounds, but I think there was just always this sort of passion to do it. And I knew that I had to try at some point, and the older I got, the harder it'd be with family and so on and so forth. So I was in a somewhat low risk situation when I made the jump, and it wasn't an easy call, but here we are. It's been about 7 something years, more than that, later, and just loving it.
Congratulations. It's a brave journey, and I'll agree with you, having made that jump myself, that it is not as glamorous as it sounds those first 2 or 3 years.
Absolutely. Yeah. Congrats to you too. That's you've been there. So
I have. I'm 13 years now.
Oh, wow.
Having founded TREW Marketing. So it's been quite a journey. When I started in 2008 was what, it's funny to talk about it now, but was known as the Great Recession. Remember that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We COVID people are laughing. So anyway, learned quite a bit over those years.
It'll test the business model, both 2008 and right now. I mean, if you survive those two events, and I went through it at Overstock in 2008 to 2010, and I ended up staying until 2012. And now with this, yeah, it's just, it really firms up a business, when you can survive this type of time.
It does. Absolutely. Well, let's dive in. So, here's why I'm so excited about you being here today. Many of these listeners, of those listening today, are just like me. They've been a career marcom professional. And we all know we want to do well in search. But when I think of how to optimize for search, my mind goes straight to content. What keywords am I
Mhm.
optimizing? How am I weaving those in authentically in my content? What is my metadata? Those are really in the forefront of my mind. But when I look at your website, I see a lot of terms like technical SEO and a lot under the hood to do with that. So that's where we're going to focus today. And just to make sure that everyone listening is on the same page with us, what the heck is technical SEO in your definition?
Yeah, technical SEO is really the technical conversation between a website and Google. So I see that book behind you about content marketing. Obviously, you're a content marketing expert. That stuff is all super important, but sometimes Google has a hard time actually accessing and understanding that great content that marketers are producing. And so really it's about optimizing, how well, when Google comes to your site, are they able to absorb and understand all that information? And that ends up being pretty technical. It's stuff like page speed, how fast is the site? Structured data, which is something that Huckabuy does. It's a language that allows your site to communicate to Google directly, and then they feature you in these rich snippets throughout their search results. There's dynamic rendering. And what's interesting about technical SEO is that it's changed a lot, and it's
And
changing very
continues
quickly.
to, right?
Yeah, it's one of those things that's just evolving, almost monthly. So to stay on top of it's very hard to do. And that's what we found that most marketers are missing is the technical side of SEO. They're familiar with the content side, link building, social, but either they don't have the skill set or, it's sort of intimidating to get on board with all the technical stuff, especially as it evolves so quickly. We figured, an outsourced solution for that would really make a lot of sense. And that's really what Huckabuy is built to do. Is we guarantee, you're going to have the perfect conversation between your website and Google so that they understand all your content efforts, all your link building efforts. You'll actually get the maximum amount of, benefit as a result of all those efforts, because you're going to have this perfect conversation with them.
I see. Okay, so I want to go back to some of the words you just used there to, peel the onion a little bit further. Describe to me what a rich result is in organic search and how that's different from other results that are unpaid.
Yeah, so the search results themselves on the page on Google have changed a lot. So it used to be, you'd search and you'd get back 10 blue links and then you'd click to ESPN or whatever. Now, if you just look at any search result, that's not the case. So say you're looking for a movie ticket, not really doing that now, but if you were, you're going to actually see the theaters, you're going to see the movie times, you're going to actually be able to buy right there. There's image enhancements, there's recipe enhancements. When you search for a product, the reviews come in. All those enhancements to search results are rich snippets, also called rich cards or rich enhancements. There's lots of different names for it. But those are all sort of powered by this language called structured data. And if you, as you search, just be mindful of them, especially as you search for terms that are relevant for your business, to see who's actually capturing the real estate and what type of features are being shown. So say you are searching for a map, you might get a lot of images, or you'll actually get the Google map chart, or it's just interesting to see what they're now featuring in their search results. And that's, it's something like, so here's a crazy stat: 50% of searches now are 0-click, meaning you search for it and you just get the answer. So that's
50%,
enormous.
50.
Yep, 50%. Yep.
Holy
And then
cow.
there's stuff like voice search, right? So there is no click. And as people start getting comfortable with voice search, so the target is just changing from what it used to be. And so you really do have to adapt for it, and consider that there's 50% right there. That's all going to be powered by structured data. And then on top of that, look at your own search behavior and how often are you clicking through like a rich result versus just a blue link. And if you monitor it, there's some estimates that it's like upwards of 70-80% now are going through these types of rich cards versus just clicking a blue link because you think it's the most
I will
relevant.
admit, my very last search I did, I have a little bit of swimmer's ear from scuba diving last week, and I did exactly what you're describing. And I got the rich results and looked through and kind of solved my issue without ever clicking in further.
Yeah.
So that is very interesting.
Yeah, there's one other like very big trend that might be good for your audience to know. It used to be that the number one thing that we cared about when we searched was like the trust of the brand that we'd end up clicking through on. And that was really what you ended up selecting. So say you went, searching for a sports score and your favorite site was ESPN, you'd go to the ESPN versus like CBS Sports or whatever the other options are. That has changed. So now the thing that's more important than trust is immediacy. So you'll actually read the article about, your scuba diving, issue, and you'll get results from maybe not the most trustworthy thing, but because they're being shown, you'll read them. And so it is about immediacy now versus, previously you might end up going through to like, a really acclaimed hospital's website or, something like that. Now, whatever's showing, you'll probably end up reading, which is just what it is.
Okay. So let's say I test this for my company and I have a particular, I don't know, engineering application that we're looking to solve, looking to optimize on. I type it in and I see, oh my gosh, there's my competitor. Here's the rich results. What do I do?
Yeah, I mean, the first step is just to have really good structured data throughout the site. Structured data is how, it's authoritative. It's all the same across sites, so they can know this is a software application or this is a product or this is a recipe. And that's when you layer on really good structured data, then you'll start to get those rich results. You can't, predict them or guarantee them, but you will start to get them, especially if your site is relevant to, a segment that shows a lot of rich results. Like medical is a very popular rich result field. Education, so if you're in a segment that this is important for, structured data is a great place to start. You still have to have the content though. Like that's not going away. You still have to have the article or the info.
Absolutely.
It doesn't just show up. So good content and then having good structured data is a good start.
Yeah. I think also evaluating the answers that are present in that search result and saying, I can come about answering this a different way that's deeper, more holistic. I think that's another way to fight against that. So it's having the right technical SEO combined with the right content strategy that shows how you're uniquely solving that problem or coming at that in a different way. So
yeah, absolutely. Like something that's unique, that's going to get backlinks and is going to be authoritative. That's a great way to think about it. Absolutely.
So I'm imagining that there's some marketers that, and perhaps this is somewhat naive, but think that, oh, well, my website is on WordPress or another industry leading platform such as that. So this whole structure thing is taken care of and this, speed load time is taken care of. So is that the case or tell me why not?
Yeah, it usually is not the case, unfortunately. It'd be great if you could just say, well, I'm on this platform and it's all solved. There's really not a platform. Probably Shopify is the only platform that's like okay at it. They're not even great at it. They're okay at it. But for WordPress and almost everything else, it's actually not that great. The best way to sort of test it is Google has tools. So they have a page speed tool and they'll give you scores. There's another tool called Lighthouse that'll actually give you a lot of information on what's going on. The average site is about, they use low connection speeds, but it's like 7 seconds to load, which is just like
That's
crazy.
slow,
And that's your average
right?
website.
That's really slow.
Really slow. And then structured data, there's a structured data testing tool. So you can actually go page by page and see what kind of structured data is showing up. And we have examples on our site of what really good structured data looks like. And then you could kind of compare and say, well, is this, am I up to snuff or do I need to improve? We do also page speed, and Google has a really big algorithm update coming in 2021 called the Page Experience Update. They haven't talked about an algorithm update this far in advance since I've been in, in this field. So it's a big one, and it's all about page speed, page experience. How is the actual interaction, especially on mobile, happening with a page? So they're doubling down on this sort of page speed and page experience
Interesting.
factors. And we actually have built a product just for this. So it's a page speed product, but it's built for the page experience update. So looking at those things and keeping that into account, that this is coming, let's get ahead of it. So, in algorithm updates, there's winners and there's losers. Be on the winning side and get ahead of it.
Always winners and losers in those. Back to the
you hear about the losers, but there's always winners
you do.
too.
I'll never forget, was it, I think J.C. Penney, or there was this famous example of, all this fake backlinking and stuff. That
was Overstock. That was Overstock.
No, really?
Yeah. We got banned for 6 months for having all these. Yeah, it's a real, I don't know if it's a badge of honor, but we sure pushed the limits to the point that we got banned.
Sorry for picking a scab there.
No, it's totally fine. I'm not in that world anymore. We're on the up and up now.
There you good. Yes. Well, back to, you mentioned there was a tool that you can use to measure your site in terms of structured data. What tool can you use for that?
It's called the Google Structured Data Testing Tool.
Okay.
So very descriptive, easy to find, and it's it totally works, and it's how they see your site.
Awesome. Okay. So what other advice do you have for content marketers listening that are interested in tackling this?
Yeah, I think just being, the first step is learning and just being aware of what it is. SEO has always sort of been thought of, it's got unfortunately a really low net promoter score. There's a lot of snake oil salesmen out there.
Oh, yes.
People get sort of nervous around SEO. We really try to make it as transparent and open and honest as possible. And I think taking that attitude and really questioning, sometimes, who you're working with, is it effective? Am I spending money and it's getting results? There's just a lot of sort of money going out the window in SEO. So I think being transparent and then knowing what actually moves the needle is really important. So, this stuff, you just have to sort of start by learning about it. And, people might not be convinced that it's important, but we're thoroughly convinced that it's important. Our customers grow like crazy. Yeah. And, knowing about it and then trying to find some sort of solution. So you can sort of do some of this stuff internally. There are external vendors that can help. But yeah, I think, just knowing about it, reading about this new page experience algorithm update is something I'd highly recommend, probably as a starting point almost, to start thinking about where Google's going instead of what's happening right now, and trying to get ahead of it before the end of the year. It's a great time to invest in SEO because we can't do a lot of other things that we're normally busy with. So SEO does take time. So it's a fantastic time to invest in SEO. We find a lot of marketing dollars are sort of moving from paid channels to SEO right now because the paid channels got crushed and they really either took a revenue hit, and now they need this sort of long-term growth strategy that's reliable, and SEO is always the best way to sort of that's a great channel for that.
It really is. Well, I know you have some helpful resources on the Huckabuy website. Where can you point people to?
Yeah, it's just huckabuy.com, HUCKABUY. We love podcast listeners, so we always give them a hefty discount. You just sort of say that, you heard about us via your podcast.
All right.
And, yeah, we take care of podcast listeners. We found it to be an awesome channel and an awesome way to get the word out.
Great. Well, I thoroughly appreciate you sharing your knowledge today. This was great. I can't wait for people to go check out your website and learn more. And I'll include all of those links to the resources we talked about in my blog post and in the bottom section. So thank you so much, Geoff, for being here today.
Thanks, Wendy. Thanks for having me, and try to stay cool in this 107-degree weather coming up for you.
Woo, I'll try. Visit contentmarketingengineer.com for notes and resources from today's episode. While there, you can subscribe to my blog, which will keep you up to date on new episodes and other resources for building trust and growing your business with technical content. Thanks, and have a great day.